Hey there, so in this video I'm going to show you the top 10 methods of natural slug control. It's going to be a kind of a review on the good and the bad aspects of these methods. Now, there are some methods that are basically just preventatives that will work throughout the year, and they kind of keep the slug population kind of a little bit down. Now, other methods are going to be kind of like barriers around your vegetables or seedlings. But I'm also going to show you two sure ways of getting rid of slugs. Now at number 10 we have beer traps, so we'll just take a look at those. So here's the beer trap, and as you can see there's one slug in there. I've added sweet beer in there. Now I've buried it at level ground, but one thing I don't like about this method is even though it's catching some slugs, it's also catching other creatures as well, and they didn't really need to die in my opinion. A lot of them can be beneficial to the ecosystem, so that's one reason I wouldn't really use this method in general, you know. Now the next four methods are actually barriers. So at number 9 we have using eggshells or sand. Let's take a look. A lot of people are actually using eggshells and coarse sand in and around their beds. Now the only way I think it's worth kind of doing it is around seedlings. Because you're never going to get that many eggshells anyway, and by just kind of scattering them around the trays and around on top of the seedlings, this will maybe discourage some of the slugs. I have tried this before with coarse sand and I didn't find it, to be honest, too successful, so that's just my kind of view on it. But if you find this kind of stuff works, please leave me a comment, or if you know any other methods as well, please do leave me a comment on that as well. Now a lot of people are using things like copper wire, stiff wire. You can buy kind of a tape as well. Now I think putting it around single plants is going to work quite well, because the slugs don't really like walking over the wire itself. Now if you're going to put it around the beds, of course it's going to keep all the slugs out from, around the beds, but a lot of slugs, and most people don't know this, a lot of slugs actually live in the soil, so the few that you see on the soil surface feeding are not actually the majority is actually living below ground, so just bear that in mind as well, if you're going to put copper wire around your beds. So at number 7, one of my favourite methods would be using Brambles, which is actually the blackberry, and I like it because it's naturally available and you can probably get it almost anywhere in the world. So let's have a look. So when using Brambles, make sure to use ones that have lots of little spikes, all kind of very close together. Don't use the ones with the really big ones. And what you can do is you can also take off the leaves. Now make sure to take off the leaves. And then you can make a kind of a nest. This is only an example, so I'm only using one. But what you can do is you can put it all around your plant, which is in this case a purple sprouting broccoli. And what you do then is you make sure it touches the ground and just make a kind of a thick nest of these kind of brambles. Now at 6, my all-time favorite, which is seaweed. So let's take a look. So I have some seaweed powder, and it's got a little tiny residue of salt still in it. It's a very, very good thing to put on your seedlings. You can also use fresh seaweed that has been kind of lying on the beach for a while, and it's going to have most of the salt off it. Never put kind of pure salt on your plants, or throwing it around, because it's really, really damaging to your soil and your plants. All you got to do is you sprinkle a little bit in and around your little seedlings. If you're using plants, you can even make a round barrier. It's also feeding your plants because it's got a lot of kind of micronutrients in it that your plants might need. So all in all, I think this method is a very, very good way to go about it. So the next 3 are going to be kind of like all year round preventatives. Let's have a look at hedgehogs first, at number 5. So here's a good way to get hedgehogs to actually come and stay in your garden, is by building a hedgehog shelter. And it's really easy to build. Just make sure to put it into a corner of your garden where you don't really spend too much time in. And what you do is you basically get a couple of these logs and you place them about, basically you get 2 logs and you place them about 35 centimeters apart. Add some smaller branches on top of that, like maybe 5 centimeters thick branches. And then the next thing is you add some smaller branches and then some leaves just to kind of waterproof the whole lot. And then what you would do is you would place a lot of kind of smaller branches on top just to protect the whole thing. Make sure to add a kind of little entrance there so that they can go in and out. Now hedgehogs are really great because throughout the year they can eat quite a amount of slugs, so it's really important to have them in your garden. Now at number 4 we're going to have a look at creating shelter belts and woodlands around your gardens and how that's going to help in preventing slugs. So having actually trees and shrubs around your vegetable patches is going to really help a lot. As you can see here we have some vegetable beds that are surrounded by trees, and this is really good because a lot of birds tend to nest in these trees and live in the undergrowth. Now make sure that you basically cut all the grass around your beds, so it needs to be really trimmed down, which is a task that we need to do in this garden here. So as you can see, also adding chickens or ducks to your garden will greatly diminish the slug population. You can see them kind of scratching up the soil surface as well, so make sure that you don't put them in during the times where you're actually planting seedlings or little plants, because they'll just basically destroy them. So, but they're really great because they can get rid of a lot of kind of slugs and eggs as well. So then at number 3 we're going to have a look at why a pond actually helps with the long-term prevention of slugs. Now another good method is to add a wildlife pond to your garden, and this will allow a lot of frogs to kind of settle in. Now there's a tadpole, it's in one of our ponds. Like frogs are really amazing because they eat like slugs by the hundreds, so it's a really good thing to have these little guys in your pond. Now the next 2 methods in my opinion are really good. They're worth using just because of their effectiveness. At number 2 we are going to look at using natural pellets against slugs. I'll talk a little bit more about them, but just let's have a quick look at them. So here we have a bag of pheromone, which is actually quite good because it will kill a lot of slugs, but it doesn't really harm anything in nature other than slugs. It's very specific for slugs. It's iron phosphate, which occurs naturally in the soil. There's like birds tend to eat this stuff. It's mostly corn or some kind of grain with a bit of iron phosphate added. So what you do is basically this amount will do like 3 or 4 square meters, and you would put an application of this maybe every 2 weeks. So you just spread it around thinly, and that's all you got to do. At number 1 we have my totally all-time favorite. We don't hurt any slugs with it, so it's a really good method. Now we're going to have to kind of fast forward the video a little bit because it's going to be all done at night time. So let's have a look. So we're here now in the tunnel. We're going to have a quick look at the slug population there. Now the important thing with slugs is they can travel up to a mile at night time, so you really want to make sure that you take them at least 200 meters away from your tunnel. Now this whole thing actually applies to any slugs if they're on your seedlings or if they're basically on your plants outside. This is the method you have to use, and you have to do it for at least 3 weeks or maybe up to even 6 weeks. We'll talk a little bit more now in a minute. We'll have a quick look at the slugs. See if there's any. So we can see here they're actually on the endive here, and they're really decimating the little guys here, which is really terrible. So we just flick them in. Also it's worth checking under the trays as well, just in case they hide under the trays, and also sometimes in the cracks under the trays. And you can do that during the day anyway. So we have 2 there, but even 2 will actually eat a lot of your little seedlings. We have another one here. Let me get you in there as well. And if you do this like maybe every second night, you will catch them all eventually. Now the real problem is that what happens with slugs is they will go back to where they lay their eggs, and they will put a kind of a slime on it every night to stop them from germinating or hatching or whatever. And if you take the slugs away, they don't go back to the place, and all the eggs hatch. So that's a problem, because all of a sudden you'll have like millions of little slugs everywhere, and that's hence the reason why we want to do it for at least 6 weeks. So bear that in mind. So let's have another quick look around. There's another one there. Another comes here. So be thorough. Try to get them all. Now this one here is also tiny. So that one has hatched not that long ago. Okay, looks like we found the mother load. I mean, just under this tray there's about 20 slugs at least. You might be able to see them now in the dark, but they're even in the cracks. So it's well worth picking up the trays as well. Jesus, there's a load of them in here. Also lots of little small ones as well. And it's really important to pick them out as well, because they can eat quite a lot as well in one night. Do a lot of damage. Hey there, so we're back now, and as you can see there's quite a few of them in there. And to be honest, I mean, look at them. They're kind of cute, so I don't really want to kill them. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring them over to maybe about 200 meters away and let them go in a field. Now they're much more active during the night time, so that's why it's easier to kind of catch them at night time. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the clip, and I'll see you next week.